YouTube. YouTube's where, okay. Hello, I'm on YouTube now, and I'm always going from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. So I'll just introduce myself, and then we'll get going. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board. You can look into my courses. I have 2 of them, boot camp courses. You can look into coaching. There's a big wait list for that, but I'll get to you eventually. And then you can look at our podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and you can watch it on YouTube if you want to. My daughter and I do it together. Yeah, thanks, Jasmine. I'm getting back into lives again. I went for about a year or 2 there. I just didn't have time, but I'm trying to get back into them. I miss them. So things got kind of crazy busy, but we're getting a little bit more organized with everything now. So anyway, welcome. So someone said where they're from, and I missed that. Dayton, Ohio. Dayton, Ohio. What is that, from a movie or something? I've heard of Dayton, Ohio. Also in the Dayton area. Oh, interesting. Okay. So it's just asking people where they're from, but we can get going with your questions now because I've already introduced myself. I'm on YouTube the whole time. Oh, thanks to you. Yeah, I'm getting back into my lives. Oh, from Japan. Hello. And Michigan and Western New York. Western New York. Okay, so Kimberly asks, my 3-year-old is climbing out of the crib and I'm worried about him climbing out in the middle of the night. What should I do? Okay, well, you got a 3-year-old in a crib. If he's climbing out, I think it's probably safer if he's just in a bed because it'd be more dangerous him climbing out of a crib. If he can get out, then why not just put him in a bed? You can just put a mattress on the floor if you don't have one right now, or his crib mattress on the floor, surrounded by pillows. Marilyn from Las Vegas, Tori from Kelso, Washington. So you're a neighbor. Anyway, so you can literally, I don't like to lock a kid in a room. I got a lot of reasons for that. I just don't. But you can put a bell or an alarm on his door. So make sure he can open it. And then every time he does, you wake up, and because there'll be an alarm there. So that's just a quick answer to that. Central Illinois. Hi, Desi. And Maisie from Omaha, Nebraska. Isn't that the big insurance company? Omaha? I'm Canadian, so. Indiana. Perth, Australia. Never made it over to Perth. I've had clients in Perth, but I've never made it over there. I lived in Australia for 20 years on the East Coast. If you're not familiar with Australia, most people are on the East Coast, and the West Coast is basically just Perth. And then down south is Adelaide, and then Tasmania. But yeah, on the West Coast is really just the only major city there is Perth. And there's a lot of nothing between there. Cedartown, Georgia. Hi, Nicole. Houston, Texas. Hi, Brittany. From Virginia, trying to end co-sleeping tonight. This is hard. Yeah, it is hard. Have you seen my bedtime battles? If you've got the course, it's in there. So yeah, good luck with that. It's hard to do. California and Zambia. Hello. Western. Oh, I already read that. Okay, so what was I going to say? I hope you've done all your Christmas shopping. Of course, I'm just doing it now. I'm terrible, but I just give up cash if I don't get anything. So yeah. If I don't get all the shopping done, I just give out money. People are quite happy to get that. Cedartown, Georgia. Hi, Nicole. Okay, this is Marilyn. 5-year-old is starting to scream when doesn't get her way, like neighbors might worry during tantrum. I can't address the neighbors because what I mean by that is there's a method that I do, but if it's disturbing the neighbors, I can't help you because the method that I use, if they're screaming because they don't get their own way, I just let them scream. You can't address screaming. Screaming is something that you can't put on a behavior board unless they're screaming in a real shrill way just to be heard. But even then, I don't like to do it. But if they're screaming during a tantrum, you can't put that on the board. There's more emotions attached to that one. But if they're just screaming just because it bugs you, do you know what I mean? Like an intentional scream, it's a little bit different. But yeah, like I've got some clients who live in apartments where their walls are paper thin and they just can't ignore tantrums. So I've got them taking the kids outside. If both parents are home, you take the kid outside. And, or downstairs into the car or whatever you have to, just to remove them so that you can let them scream it out. Stephanie says, 7 and 4-year-old girls, when 4-year-old is done with playing, the 7-year-old will get up and keep bugging her to keep playing. The 4-year-old can get frustrated when the 7-year-old doesn't leave her alone. Can this be added to the behavior? Yes, it can. Yeah. That's stop pestering you have to word it very carefully. So stop when she says, I'm finished playing, you have to respect that and quit bugging her. So you can put that down. Yep. Okay, this is Tia. I'm grateful for your advice. You're very welcome. We've implemented ignoring tantrums with our 2.5-year-old daughter, and she's learned after a couple of weeks, and tantrums have almost stopped. Good for you. You've done the work. Good for you. Yeah, you're not feeding it. Tantrums require feeding. If you don't feed them, they just stop, right? They'll starve to death kind of thing. Not the kid, the tantrum. Canada, Quebec. So you're in Quebec. Audrey. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. There's 2 Vancouvers. There's one in Washington, down in the States, and there's one up here in Canada. Most people think of the Canada one, I think. I think it's bigger. And Sandra from New Zealand. We used to ski there in Queenstown because we lived in Australia. So love Queenstown. If you're ever down that way, go check out Queenstown. Something about that town, it is just wonderful. Okay. Sorry, I'm just scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here. Oh, I got to use my timer. I lose track of time when I'm talking to you guys, and I don't have a lot of time. Got other work I've got to finish up. So, okay, so I did the chore when my daughter, almost 5, gets into trouble. Not listening, smacks her brother, takes toys away, yells. Okay, what do I do when I have her doing a chore and she just screams and yells, I don't want to, you don't love me anymore, I don't like doing this. So why would you give that any attention? She's just trying to pull you in. She's trying to manipulate you. She's trying to upset you. Let her scream. All you are is a timekeeper. Oh, you got 15 minutes to do that chore, and that starts now. She's screaming, screaming, screaming. Go, oh, 5 more minutes. Just ignore it. She's just trying to get it. She's trying to take over. Don't let her. You don't love me anymore. Oop, 2 more minutes. It's pure manipulation. Pure manipulation. Don't fall for it. You talked about, this is Heather, you talked about bedtime. It's in my courses. It's a whole routine, bedtime routine. It's how you do it. It's one of my most successful things that I teach on a regular basis. Bedtime routine. Spitting is probably the most successful thing that I cure, is spitting. It's almost in one day for sure. But yeah, bedtime is a real common. It's not as common. Most kids don't spit, but the ones who do, my method cures it pretty quick. But bedtime is, it's one of my most successful things. It's not easy to do though. It's in my boot camp courses if you're interested in that. It's probably out there in videos somewhere. I just don't have the bandwidth to talk about it tonight because it's a whole thing. I have to pick and choose what I talk about, or else I go squirrel crazy because it's so much repetition, right? Because I get new people coming in and out. It's like I can't tell a pool story anymore. I've told it so many times. My daughter made me tell it on a podcast a couple of months ago. It was brutal. And then now she just, if she wants it to be told again, she'll just play the old video in a podcast. Okay. Oh, you got another question about potty training. Potty training is it's a whole system. That's the thing, is these things there's not a quick advice. It's a whole system. Potty training, it's a whole system. I call it the potty party. If you want to check that out, that's in both of my boot camp courses also. So yeah, it's a whole system. There's no tips on that, because it would be like a tip on dieting. Eat healthy. Like, it's a whole system. Years and years ago, I used to do a lot of TV and radio back in the day when it was, popular. And one day I turned up to the morning show, and so they'd gone to the hardware store and bought a toilet because I was talking about potty training, and they put the toilet on the stage in the set for me. And I thought, wow, what a classy broad, I'm on TV with a toilet. I mean, and they were so proud of the fact they bought it, which I really appreciated, but it just struck me as funny. Okay, how do you cure spitting? Okay, spitting is an easy one. Every time they spit, I don't treat it like bad behavior. Here's what I do. I always have a wet rag handy. Make sure it's not warm and cozy, okay? You know what I'm saying. It's on the cooler side, not comfortable. So every time they spit, they go, oh, I see you spit. Let's just get you cleaned up. And you just take your time wiping their face. They don't like having their face washed. It's a nice cool cloth. It's nice and wet. They're not going to like it. And then you clean up any mess, okay? And then you say, okay, if they spit again, oh, I see you spit again. Okay, let's clean that spit up. No anger. You're just cleaning it up. They catch on very quickly, from what I've heard from clients have told me. Go, yeah, that one works. My son is 2, excuse me, and snatches and says, mine when playing with toys with other kids. How do I, I would go over like that and I'd say, no, it isn't. And I'd give it back to the other kid. And I'd pull my kid away for a couple of minutes, kicking and screaming. Absolutely 100%. And don't get them to say sorry. Parents do this all the time. Say you're sorry and you don't take them away. There's no lesson in that. None. When there's no point. Apologies are useless. I knew someone years ago who had a very aggressive little one. And I had to stop seeing her because my kid's not aggressive and he kept hitting my kid. And they were about 2, maybe a little bit less. And every time he hit my kid, she'd say you're sorry. And he'd go, sorry. And then you just hit him again. Sorry. Hit him again. Sorry. He was loving it, right? The apologies mean nothing to little kids. Anyway. And he ended up becoming the school bully. He was kicked out of many high schools. That's because she never taught him how to not hit people. What about hitting their head? Yeah, lots of them do that. Just physically restrain them. Don't look at them or talk to them, though. Just keep them alive. So if they're hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property, you just pick them up. Don't have them facing you, though. You just have them, remove them, keep them safe, hold on to them just for a minute or so, then let go. If they go to bang their head again, stop it and just hold on to them again. You're not looking at them or talking to them, though. You're just keeping them alive, basically. And don't be afraid of the fit, scene, meltdown, and tantrum. That is their lesson. Everyone's trying to avoid it. How do we avoid tantrums? You don't. You got to go into the storm to get to the rainbow. Everyone wants the rainbow. You got to go through a storm to get it, right? You don't get a rainbow for no reason. You got to be willing to go through the fit, scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums. When you're taking charge, they're going to fight you. And that's okay. Let them. Hello, Michaela from Texas. You said your 2-year-old's been hitting and biting. Check out my free behavior board. It goes into how you deal with that with toddlers. There's a toddler section and then a 3 and above. The behavior board starts at 3, but there's a toddler section in there. It goes into that, how you deal with toddler discipline. Alabama. I have several clients in Alabama. Very southern. They're so cute. I didn't ask their permission to tell this, but they said something really cute. And I didn't know they were southern right away, but instantly, where are you from? Alabama. They're so freaking cute. Just manners out the wazoo. So polite. From Michigan, how long do I allow a 1.5-year-old to tantrum before intervening? Sometimes 40 minutes. Yeah, if they're up to about 15 months, they're still babies. So I use distraction. So you can still maybe do that, but it's indirect redirection. So let's say they keep going and going and going. I might just go all by myself over by where their books are and start reading one of their books to myself. And the idea is they can come over and join you. But otherwise, I don't give them any attention. But you're nearby. You're nearby. Okay? You never abandon them during a tantrum. You're right nearby. And then as soon as they stop having a tantrum, then you talk to them. If you don't do that, if you don't do the connection after the tantrum, don't even ignore a tantrum. I think it's just mean. But they learn that if they stop having the tantrum, they're going to get attention. That's why this works. It's the attention after the tantrum that makes it work. Not just ignoring the tantrum. It's the connection afterwards. So they're having a fit. I'm filing my nails. As soon as they're finished, you all done? You want to go read a book? See, that's it. That's how it's done. Don't discuss tantrums. Don't discuss bad behavior. Huge mistake. If you want to know why, I'll answer you. I'll wait till someone else asks that. Okay, you're a preschool teacher. I can't give you any advice. I've never taught. I teach parent-child relationships. All the kids I worked with, I was mentoring them. It was more like I was mothering them kind of in a way. So yeah, I only teach connection, parent-child, and it's personal. Teaching is a business. Never done it, never will. What about tantrums at grocery stores in public? I have a whole section on that in my boot camp course. It's called Grocery Store Tantrums. Yeah, they're going to have them. You just if you got to go shopping, just get it done and let them have a fit. Let them drop and scream. You just got to go through it. I don't understand your question, Sandra. I just didn't understand the question. Sorry. What do you do when your child 7 weaponizes being accountable? She doesn't do it much anymore, but before, every time I did something she didn't like, she would ask for a compensation. So that's why I teach parents to be accountable, right? But you're on the board. If I yell, then there's a consequence. So she's weaponizing it. Is she right? Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. If she's right, but if she's wrong, I would say that's enough. I wouldn't go on about it. Just say, that's enough. They learn. Okay, she knows what she's doing at that age. So, but yeah, if she's right, like if you're being unreasonable or whatever. Now you said that wasn't fair. I'd say, you're right. That wasn't fair. So here's my consequence. But if she isn't, I'd say that's enough. They catch on. I'm scared my 5-year-old will hurt my 6-month-old. How do I explain don't sit on your sister? You protect that baby. Don't leave your 5-year-old. If you've got an aggressive 5-year-old, you do not leave them alone with a baby. Okay. Yeah. You just got to take the baby everywhere you go. There's no way I would risk that. If you've got a 5-year-old you think might hurt. My kids were 5 years apart, and I used to I'd sit my son on the couch, put the baby newborn on his lap, and he knew how to hold her. And then I'd go out and hang up the laundry. If I thought for 1 second he would drop her or do anything, there's no freaking way I would leave her alone with him, the baby, his little sister. No way. I trusted him, but I wouldn't trust all 5-year-olds. Okay. They're all different. Okay. How do I get my 3-year-old to quit hitting? Check out my free behavior board. It's on BratBusters.com, and it teaches you how to do that. I would put no hitting as his rule or her rule on the behavior board. What do you think about letting kids go to sleepovers? I don't like it. I didn't do it with my kids. The reason is it's not always, and I mean, if it's family and you trust them, yeah, fine. But with friends, you don't know everyone who might turn up. I won't go on into it, but let's say they have an older brother or something who also has friends over for the night. Yeah, I've heard of, I won't go on about it, but yeah, there's no way. No, I'm not big on sleepovers. Why do they need to sleep over? They all get up tired because they've been up all night. It's not fun. Like, it's kind of a novelty, but then they're tired. They usually want to come home by about 11. They're still up screaming and they're all wild. You usually get a phone call. I want to come home. Yeah, I didn't like it. My kids didn't do it. Because we didn't have family where we lived. It was just us. So you never know who people are going to have over. Could be an uncle that's visiting and staying over for the night. You see where I'm going with this? I've heard of all sorts of horrible stuff. Yeah, like I said, BB, just say, that's enough. Yeah, and don't discuss it. It's your discussions around it that wreck everything. Don't explain. The more you explain yourself, the more they complain. The more you explain, the more they complain. She knows what she's doing. And if you say that's enough and she still keeps doing it, I would just go, yeah, whatever. Just shut it down. Change the subject. Okay? She's manipulating you. That's all. You got to put an age down if you've got a question, because different answers for different ages. Most people who turn up here ask, I end up talking about discipline all the time, but that's not what I'm about at all. I connect with kids. Think about it this way. Most of what I've learned is not for my own kids, because I was a leader from day one. So I never had to do any of this stuff. So, but it's all the kids I worked with. Now, I had no way of disciplining them. So how do you think I got such great behavior with all the kids I mentored, right? With no way of disciplining them. Connection. I'm very good at connecting with kids, and I pull it away fast and quickly, just for a short period of time. I pull away my connection for like 30 seconds. That might be all I need to do. It doesn't work at home. You can't do that with your own kids. But I was intensely just, mentoring kids in class or whatever. And if they did something naughty, I'd say, ooh, I tell you what, I'll just go quiet for 30 seconds. They hated that. And then I'd count down, sorry, Lisa, sorry. Say 20 more seconds. No anger, just silence for 30 seconds. That's all I had, right? I didn't have any way of disciplining them, right? So connection is everything. It's not about the discipline. It's about the connection. Can you give it's on being a leader with kids? I don't know what you mean. I will read my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Most people who turn up to these lives have toddlers. I do specialize in teenagers. It's my favorite age. But I understand most people who turn up to these lives have little ones. So I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, you connect with toddlers in their world, not your world. You don't take them to the nail salon to connect with them. You go to the park and you roll down the hill with them. They look at you differently. And number 4 is similar. You discipline toddlers in their world. They're not about words, they're about actions, okay? You use consistent corrective actions if they act out. That is, you remove them from the fun or fun from them for just a few minutes or whatever, if they're naughty. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers 16 to 35 months is my definition of a toddler. And they're just not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. Can you figure that out? They're brand new. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years. In the first year, you're a potato laying on a mattress. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed up there. One of my followers said that they dress their newborn up as a potato laying on a mattress. I thought that was really cute. Okay, I got to go over to Instagram now if you want to join me over there. If not, check out my website. It's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, look into my boot camp courses, my coaching. I do have a big wait list, so sorry about that, but I'll get to eventually. Or you can listen to our podcast. It's BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and it's saved on YouTube if you want to watch us. We just sent out to our newsletter, I think she sent it out today, a thank you to everybody we just hit 1 million downloads in our first year. And that's like just unbelievable. So we just are so thrilled because I love passing on this information, and the podcast is all free. It doesn't cost you anything. It costs us something to run it, but it doesn't cost you anything. And so most of our content is free. That means that we're helping people on the podcast, and that's why I love it. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to Instagram now, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. Bye now. There we go. A lot of buttons to push. I don't know, BB. Is that your name? Bibalina? I'm not sure about your name. Anyway, so how to stop nagging? Give them responsibility, and if they don't do it, then you have a consequence. Oh, and when you say remember not to, what an insult. Can you imagine your husband or if you're a man, I don't know. Can you imagine your partner saying, remember not to be a pest tonight. Remember not to do, it's an insult. Whenever you tell kids, be on your best behavior, remember to be good, it's an insult. Don't do that. Okay, so let's get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. You can look into coaching. Sorry, I have a really big wait list right now, but I will get to eventually. If you want to listen to the podcast, it's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube. If you want to watch us, my daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. It's the only time we ever work together. We have completely different roles in the business. And but yeah, that's why I love doing it. I'm working with my daughter. So anyway, 3-year-old ignoring me. Timeout's useless. Yeah, I hate timeout. Get rid of it. I've never done it. Check out the free behavior board. It's the training wheels with all this stuff. It'll teach you how to get started as a leader. Okay. Is timeout a bad way to coach a 3-year-old? Yeah, it's useless. I hate timeout. Imagine if your boss said, you made a mistake, go sit in the corner for 5 minutes. Think about it. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Timeout is horrible. It's just not a very nice way to treat someone. So yeah. And everything I talk about is what you do instead. There's 3 things that are really commonly used that I can't stand. Timeout's one of them. Distraction's another, because you never distract with broccoli. I mean, it's always done with a treat, right? So they're bad, then they get a treat. And the worst one is the countdown. When they're doing something naughty and you start counting down, You go, if you don't stop that, you'll be in big trouble by the time I count to 3. 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4, 3. Then they break, they stop. There's no consequence for what they were pounding their little brother for 3 counts. And then it makes you look scared. Makes it, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to start counting. It's actually the worst one. 20-year-old boy carries his tantrums for a long time. 20-month-old. Other ways to deal with it. I only have one way of dealing with tantrums. So, and if you look up just BratBusters, any topic, BratBusters tantrums, I have millions of videos on that. Yeah, not millions, probably the hundreds, I would say, maybe thousands. I don't know. I think my daughter posts 2 videos a day on all the platforms. So there's a lot of videos on tantrums. Plus, if you go and I go into more detail, all of our videos are short form. And if you go into the podcast, like on YouTube, you go into BratBusters Parenting on YouTube, look up, just type in the little finder thing, type in tantrums. And then I'm sure we've done a podcast just on tantrums. It'll explain it. We did what was it? I can't remember the topic even, but tomorrow, our podcast coming out, my daughter's really excited about it. She says, this is going to be our best podcast ever. It's her favorite one. We've done over 100 of them now, and we've only been going for about a year. And she said, this is by far the best podcast. And anyway, I don't know about that. I don't listen to them. She has to do all that. But yeah, it's I can see why she thinks it's going to be a big hit. So you might want to look into the podcast and the one that comes out tomorrow, which is Tuesday. We think I can see why she thinks it's going to be a popular one. So we'll see. But it kind of goes into sort of tantrums and how you delve through all their big emotions and all that. Oh, great. My daughter-in-law just sent some pictures of my granddaughter, and I can't look at them right now because I'm talking to you. Anytime I get any pictures sent to me, I have her one day a week, so it's not like I never see her. Okay. Someone said, yes, Jacqueline's question. Which was it? Sometimes I skip over them because I like to keep current. Oh, great. She sent 9 photos and I have to wait. It's okay. How to stop no from a 3-year-old when I say we're going to do this or something like that. Oh, if they say no, just say, well, it's happening anyway. So, okay, we're going now. No, we'll pick them up and put them in the car. Follow it up with action, okay? If it's something that they need to do, then just say, well, I'll tell you what. Okay, you don't have to do that, but here's your consequence. Check out the free behavior board. It'll teach you how to do that. It's on BratBusters.com. And the only reason, and everyone's always blaming their kids for the bad behavior, has nothing to do with your children. It's all you. They're just a product of your parenting. So just change your parenting, set yourself up as a leader. They listen to a leader. They just do. Have you ever had anyone in your life that you look up to, like a mentor? It could be a teacher, could be a grandparent, a coach. How do you treat that person? That's what this is all about. It's about leadership. It's not about the discipline, or it's about leadership, connection, your calmness. I've never yelled. I've never been yelled at either. Leaders don't yell. So if you're yelling, you'll never really be a leader if you continue to yell. So it's hard to get out of that, though. Most parents yell because it does work in the moment, but it backfires down the road. It's a short-term gain for long-term pain. I do the short-term pain for long-term gain. We're investing in tomorrow here. So yeah, you got to stop yelling. You got to calm down. You stay calm during the storms, and you can be crazy during the rainbows when everything's great, right? And you're laughing and being crazy. And I used to chase my kids around the house with underpants on my head because I am crazy anyway. So. Oops, a whole bunch of questions I had to skip through. The reason I do that is to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. You got a 3-year-old screaming in the car. Whenever someone asks me about the car, most things are sorted out at home. In the car, your kind of hands are tied, right? You can't just stop what you're doing and turn around and deal with the kid. But yeah, if they're screaming, I try to ignore it. If they're screaming intently just to get on your nerves, I might put that on the board with the 3-year-old and say no screaming in the car because it's dangerous because we're driving. They don't care about that, but I might explain it that way. And but yeah, it's kind of tough when you're in the car. So, okay. What are your qualifications? I don't have any. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. Kind of had it figured out even then. I just always kind of knew how to be a leader with kids. And yeah, I was going to be a child psychologist, but they kicked me out of the course, the initial class, because I asked too many questions. It was what they were teaching. This is 40 years ago. What they were teaching was ridiculous. It was so patronizing. And I said, this ain't going to work. And so, yeah, thank God I never followed that path, because I would have been under that umbrella. And what a disaster. I didn't agree with it. I'm sure they've improved now, but anyway. Yeah, I like, and also I teach parent-child relationships. That's all I do here, parent-child relationships. There's no master's in that. There's no master's degree. A lot of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. They're good at business. I couldn't do their jobs. But this is different. This is personal. There's nothing quite like parent-child relationship. There's no courses in that. There's no, what I mean is there's no qualifications for that. Oh, you specialize in parent-child relationships? Yeah, it's a niche for sure. And I want to make it very clear, those people who work with kids, I could not do their jobs, okay? It's very different, totally different. Has nothing to do with parenting, really. It's totally different. That's why when someone asks me, how do I, with my kids, my students in class, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. And a lot of those teachers don't know how to parent. Like they're very, some stuff does cross over. I would say most, probably a lot doesn't. I don't know if it's most, but a lot doesn't. A really good example of what works really well in the classroom is a reward chart for good behavior. Total disaster at home, total disaster. But a reward chart in the classroom can work very, very well. It's not personal. All the kids are on there. At home, if you get a reward chart for good behavior, what you're saying to your child is you're normally rotten. If you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. How ridiculous is that? So every time they're nice, they're going to expect a reward. Right through the years. It's ridiculous. Could you imagine your spouse having a reward chart for you for good behavior? It's patronizing. It's insulting. But works beautifully in a classroom. It's not personal there. Very different relationships. Yeah, they literally kicked me out of that course. It was a prerequisite course of, I was going to be a child psychologist. And they started talking about children. And it's just garbage. In my head, it was garbage, and I couldn't have disagreed more. And I'm not shy, so I kept questioning everything. I said, "But the kid is thinking this when you talk like that," and they didn't agree with anything I said. I didn't agree with anything they said. Funny part is the other students started asking me questions instead of the teacher. What I should have done was I shouldn't have walked out so willingly. I should have held out, and they would have paid me double to get rid of me. I'll tell you, boy, they couldn't wait to get rid of me. Oh, it was funny. That was 40 years ago, or more, 45 years ago. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Brainy Jack. Yeah, I'm very aware of that. Some of my clients are into that. Yeah. But that's not my area. I stay out of all that, right? What I mean is I don't talk about what anyone else is teaching or doing out there. Everything I've learned, I learned from kids. They taught me all this stuff. They're also the ones who said, you got to teach this stuff, Lisa, all the teenagers I worked with. So, and I didn't for you. I never even thought about it for years and years and years. I did all that volunteer work just because I love kids. And they're the ones who said, you got to teach this, Lisa. So here I am. Yeah, I already answered that, Courtney. Throwing food. Saw your last post. We did it tonight and fed her ourselves. So if they throw food, you say no, throw it away, and then hand feed them. And then I also say, because you said she started crying and then won't eat. I also said what you do is if they start crying and won't eat, you say, okay, never mind, then you're all done. Wipe them up, put them down, let them have a fit. And after maybe 15 or 20 minutes, say, okay, do you want to sit up and eat again? Give them a little bit of food to feed themselves. If they throw it again, then you hand feed them again. So you're still offering them feeding themselves, but if they throw it, they're not feeding themselves anyway, right? So yeah, so that's the second part of that. Maybe it didn't come up in the post. Because they got to eat, right? How do I get my son to follow instructions? He's 3 years old and always says no. Okay, how do you not speed everywhere? It's because of consequences. That's why you're not speeding all the time as fast as you want to go. It's the consequences. So if he doesn't follow instructions, which I don't like to tell kids what to do anyway, but if he doesn't follow through with his responsibilities, if you want to call it that way, then there's a consequence. We all learn through consequences. That's how the world is run. We don't pay our rent because we want to and someone's telling us to. We do because we'll get kicked out if we don't, right? It's like that. So yeah, don't micromanage him. No one's nagging me to pay my taxes. I know if I don't, I'll get fined for being late. That's why I pay them on time. You see what I mean? It's like that. It's consequences. I don't quite know here. Sincerely, Diana. Ideas for consequences when I ask my 3 and 5-year-old to do things, set the table, clean up, bath time. You're telling them to do stuff and they're just saying no. Have it on a board. Start with one thing at a time. It could just be follow mealtime routine, which includes setting the table. Then if they don't do it, there's a consequence. You see? You don't want to be telling your kids what to do. I have literally no memory of ever telling my kids to get ready for school, do their homework, go to bed. They knew if those things weren't done, I would say, oh, you missed that. How about we're going to a consequence? So they just knew. I never nagged my kids. If you're always sending out orders, expecting them to obey, you're going for obedient soldiers. They're not self-driven then, and they start to resent and rebel as years go on because you're always nagging them. Yeah, don't do that. Any advice on introducing an 18-month-old to a newborn? No, you can't possibly. It's going to go the way it's going to go. You can introduce them any way you want, but once that newborn starts taking up your time, starts screaming, starts smelling, starts getting all the attention, and you get tireder and tireder, so you're not the same parent you were, they're going to react. The introduction won't change that at all. So anyone who says it will is wrong. It's just as you go along, just do your best, right? And keep that newborn away from the 18-month-old. You can't trust them with the baby. Check out my free behavior board if you want consequences ideas. And everyone thinks there's a good consequence. No, there isn't. It's not the point here. Just check out the free behavior board, and it's on BratBusters.com, and it'll give you some ideas. But everyone thinks that the consequence is the answer. No, it isn't. It's your calmness and your consistency. It doesn't matter what the consequence is, really. My 3-year-old has tantrums. What I do is redirect her. I wouldn't. That's a reward. For example, and not you do that with a baby, but not with a toddler or a 3-year-old. A 3-year-old's not a toddler. For example, crying about saying no to a snack, and I distract her or redirect. She thinks about something else. No, it's the wrong thing to do. Distraction is always a reward. So they have a tantrum, and then you distract them because you never distract them with broccoli, right? It's always done as a reward. So yeah, don't distract her. She has a tantrum, you just ignore her. Check out my videos on tantrums, and there's a way of ignoring them. Because they're only tantruming to get your reaction. If they don't get it, they'll stop having them. So I have lots of videos on tantrums. If you Google BratBusters any topic on parenting, it'll pop up. So Google BratBusters. I'm just going to do that now. I always tell people to do that, and I never do. I'm just going to look it up. BratBusters tantrums. I have a whole podcast on tantrums too. Oh, yeah, lots of stuff comes up. Oh, yeah, there's pages and pages and pages on videos on tantrums. I would look up, I'd go on YouTube, look up BratBusters, and in the little finder thing, type in tantrums. I've got a podcast on tantrums. It goes into more detail. That's why my daughter started the podcast, because we do go into more detail. And all the short videos, they're just snippets, right? But the podcast, you get a better idea of where it's all coming from, and the psychology behind it and all that stuff. And yeah, actually, when I'm coaching people, it's 5 sessions. They usually end up rehiring me, but I always aim to get it all done in 5 sessions. So, but a lot of them just want the ongoing support, right? So anyway, the first 3 sessions are behavior boards if they've got 3 years and over. First 3 sessions behavior boards. The next 2 sessions, 4 and 5, they're all the psychology behind it. It's all, and I answer questions. They did this, what do I do? Well, they've already got the information on how you do it, but we tweak stuff and manage it. But yeah, it's all the psychology behind it. It makes it easier for you to change. If you don't understand why you're doing it, it's harder. But you just follow through without thinking about it in the first 3 sessions. Just do the behavior boards. Don't think about it. Just do it. And then sessions 4 and 5 are all about why you're doing it and what your kids are thinking, and why they said what they said when you did this and that. So it's all the psychology. I just love it. Love it. I just understand kids. I just do. I always did. And I remember being a little kid and trying to figure myself out. And I remember thinking, well, I'm thinking differently, because I can remember last year when I was 3, I didn't think this way. I literally can remember doing that to myself. And then when I was 11, I started volunteering in daycare centers, and I put all that into practice. Yeah, it's fascinating. Because if you can figure kids out and how you formed, it helps you to understand adults, because a lot of how we are is how we were raised, right? Oh, thanks, Tabitha. Tabitha's a real regular here. So my daughter and I often say, was Tabitha at the live last night? Yeah, she was there. We know you, Tabitha. Okay. You didn't tell me the age. I would have answered that, but I need an age. And put the whole question plus the age again, because I won't be able to connect it otherwise. 9-year-old daughter having meltdowns when frustrated or can't do something right. How do I help her gain confidence? I don't know if that's confidence. That's impatience. It's almost an entitlement also. Things should go right for me. I shouldn't have to work for them. Think about it. It's not necessarily confidence. So yeah, she gets frustrated. Just say, so do I. Let's give it another go. Treat it like it's nothing. Like, yeah, oh, well, I can't do that right away. So be relatable. Because when I was working with a kid, especially the teenagers, because I used to mentor troubled teens. And when I was working with them and they'd say, oh, I can't get this math. And I go, well, I can't get it either. So let's try and figure it out together. What was funny is I never did get it, but they ended up teaching me how to do it. So yeah, just show her it's no big deal if you can't get something right away. It's more of an entitlement, not confidence. It depends. It can be confidence, but generally it's more, it should just work. Everything should work for me. You see, it's more like that. It's not perfectionism. It's not like a confidence, usually. Oops, I have to go over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. If not, check out my website. It's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. You can look into coaching. I got a big wait list, but I'll get to that eventually. So if you don't hear from me for a few months, that's why. And also, what else? Oh yeah, podcast. Anyway, the podcast is only a year old. That's why I keep forgetting about it when I'm doing this. Anyway, the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. If you want to check it out, you can also look at it on YouTube. It's on all the platforms too. And I think my daughter sent out a newsletter today to our followers, our subscribers, and we hit 1 million downloads. We're just blown away by that. Because we were hoping for 10,000 in the first year, which is considered really good, and we hit 1 million in the first year. So it's just outstanding. Now, the reason why that's so exciting, we don't make any money on that. The reason that's so exciting is that I really feel like that's what's helping people more than anything else we do, is the podcast, because I go into more detail. And this is a passion business. It's not just money. I'm here. I was doing this long before I ever started my business. I was looking after kids and all that. So the fact that that podcast is helping that many people, hopefully, that's what's so exciting. Like to have that reach when you're trying to help people. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to help. It's not that I want you to raise good kids. That's the byproduct of all this. I want you to have fun parenting. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to wallow in it as much as I did. I want you to be happy. Okay. And when you get this leadership cemented and you figure it out, your kids are going to be great anyway. Like they're going to be respectful and, but anyway, okay. I got to go over to TikTok. Happy parenting. Okay, I'm just waiting for TikTok to start up. You're flattered. Well, thanks, Tabitha. We're flattered that you turn up. A lot of bad news today. I'm not going to bring it up. A lot of bad news today. Horrible stuff. It's funny how things happen in bunches like that. Anyway, we'll go on about that. Okay, just waiting for everyone to turn up here on TikTok. Okay. So I'm just looking at your names as you're turning up. It's interesting. On Facebook, it's usually people's real name. And then Instagram and TikTok especially, it's like not usually their real names. Just different handles. Someone that used to turn up regularly and then she had a baby. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, she just found someone else or she's just not on here anymore. It was Dot. That was just her handle was Dot, one period. I used to say, hi, Dot. Okay. Okay, I'll get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you check out my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. You can look into coaching. If I don't get back to you for a few months, if you're on the wait list, it's just because it's really big, but I will get to you eventually. And then the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and you can check it out on YouTube if you want to watch us do it. It's my daughter and I, we do it together. So, and we download them on, or she does all that. She puts it on YouTube. The only things that we have on YouTube, I didn't know this. I thought all the videos, the short form videos were going on there. They're not. And I was telling everyone they were, but they're not. The only two things she puts on YouTube is the podcast and the lives. I put the lives on there. So, and that's it. And also, we just did a 7 podcast series a couple of weeks ago, and it's all of our basic information. If you go in playlist on our YouTube channel and just look in playlist, it's there. It's 7 podcasts. So 7 videos, and they're the podcasts. And they're all of our basic information. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. I'll do my best to answer as many as I can, sort of, but I like to mix it up with other stuff because most questions are based on discipline. And that's not what I'm all about at all. I'm about connecting with your kids. So if I'm just talking about discipline all the time, people think that's all I'm doing here, but no, not at all. Quite the opposite. Do both parents need to be committed to change behavior? Yes, but you don't both have to do it. The other one has to back you up though. Okay, they can't undermine you, because if you've got 2 parents with 2 different ways of parenting, that's not going to work. There's usually one leader anyway. I was the leader, my mom was the leader, and so long as the other one backs the leader up, then it works. So you don't both have to be leaders. The leader is the prized role. You're the one they're going to tell everything to throughout the years. So you want to kind of be the leader. Most parents get that when they're working with me. They go, oh, I get it. I thought that was the tough one. No, it's not. The leader is the one you want to be, because you are the one they're going to, talk to about everything. And because you're that safe place to land. You're the calmest one usually. I'll give you a cute story. My dad was the pleaser. My mom was the leader. And my dad was, I guess my mom had talked to him about spoiling me. And I was about 3 or something. And I can remember it. I went up to my dad and I said, Daddy, can I have blah, blah, blah? And he always answered the same way. Sure, sweetie pie, you can have anything you want. He was the pleaser parent, right? So then one day he stopped and he goes, oh, wait, let's go check with mom. And I said, oh, never mind. Because I knew I shouldn't have had it. But my dad was, you see, but he backed her up. So yeah, that was when things changed. I knew he was going to be checking with mom after that. So I didn't ask for silly stuff. When should tantrums slow down? There's no age. It's more when you start ignoring them. So they will slow down. They will diminish in intensity, frequency, and duration once you get good at this. I would say 3 to 6 weeks, you should notice a big difference. At any age, really, 3 to 6 weeks, you should notice a really big difference. If you're consistent each time. As soon as you mess up, it's almost like you have to start again. They remember when you mess up because it suits them, right? They don't tend to remember the 100 times you got it right. They remember the 1 time you got it wrong. They're going to think, if I keep going, this might be that 102nd time that they get it wrong. And I get what I want kind of thing. Or I make them upset. If you look upset, they just won. Oh, how do you connect with the baby? Just the usual stuff, feeding, loving them up, holding them a lot, talking to them a lot, singing with them. I like a lot of holding them and singing because they get that, that feeling, that humming. I know my granddaughter, every time I put her down for a nap, I sing the same song to her, and I can tell she likes the vibration when I'm singing this song. She sometimes leans into my neck when I'm singing it. So yeah, it's singing, holding them, just it's the the usual stuff. How do I help my 7-year-old who whines and argues back and never listens? That's on you. You've trained them to do all that. Remember, they're just a product of your parenting. So work on your leadership skills. That's what the behavior board's all about. It's all about you and your leadership skills. It's completely free. It's the training wheels with all this. If you want to look into the boot camp course, obviously a lot more information in there. That's not free. And that's on my website also, BratBusters.com. So that's where you start. Everyone wants to fix their kids, but they're just a product of you. They're just a product of your parenting. So we're never fixing kids here. I teach parenting, not kidding or teenagering. They're just a reflection of your parenting. So yeah, you've got to take full responsibility for that and change yourself. You're not changing your kids. They will, when you're a leader, they will follow. They just do. It's a natural instinct. Teenagers are a little bit different, but that's another thing. Parenting podcast tips. I don't know what you mean by that. And then you ask sleep training, yes or no? I don't know how you're sleep training. So I'll tell you what, when people ask that, it's usually about babies, sleep training. And it's the cried out method usually. And I'll tell you what I did. This is what I did with my kids. They were both about 10 months old. And I thought, I've had enough of this. They were getting up in the middle of the night once, maybe twice, usually just once at 10 months old. And they just want to feed. I was breastfeeding and they just wanted to feed, but they weren't really even drinking. They were just up to play, and I thought, oh, I'm going to end this now. So what I did with both of them, 5 years apart, is I said, okay, they woke up at 2 a.m. or whatever. And I said, no, you're okay. I laid them back down. Oh, they were screaming because I usually pick them up and cuddle them and feed them, right? So anyway, I said, no, you're okay. And then I said, good night. And I left the room, closed the door, and I sat down the hallway with a pillow because I knew I should bring a pillow because I was going to be crying. And I sat there just sobbing while they cried. I let them cry for 1 minute. I'd go in, I'd put them back down, pat them. They usually stood up before I left the room again. I still left. Then I did it for 2 minutes. Then I'd go back in, you're okay. Then I'd leave again and do it for 3 minutes. And I only did it for one night with both kids and they didn't get up again. Interesting, eh? Just one night. I do have another way that there's lots of stuff I do in coaching. This is just what I just said was my standard answer. In coaching, I have another method, which I don't like to talk about because I'd rather you start with this one. If this one doesn't work and you're really struggling with it, there is another method, but I'll never tell you that because you're going to go to that first. So I always give you my first step, the one I think you should try first in these lives and in public. But in coaching, I often have other methods, but I don't tell you that because you're going to want to do it. But it usually takes longer. This one's quicker. It's harder to do, but it's quicker. The other one, it's not as hard to do, but it might take longer, 2 or 3 nights. You said, how do I stop feeling like a bad parent for behavior I can't control at school? So you're asking me to help your feelings. I can't do that. What I can do is say when they are acting out at home, at school, you have a consequence when they come home. So yeah, it's like you're asking me, I can't answer that. How do I stop feeling like a bad parent when my kids are acting out? Stop your kids from acting out by being a leader, and then you won't feel bad. You see what I mean? You're going about that the wrong way. How do I stop feeling bad? But you can't if the actions are still happening. Fix the actions, then you won't feel bad. When is timeout age appropriate? Never. I hate timeout. I can't stand it. I think it's horrible. It's patronizing, mean, demoralizing. Imagine if you made a mistake at work and your boss said, you go sit in the corner for 5 minutes. That's what you're doing to your kids. It's demoralizing. It just makes them feel like crap. They don't learn anything but how horrible they feel. It's awful. Anyway, I don't have a filter, sorry. My daughter's my filter. She edits a whole bunch of stuff out of the podcast because I really get revved up sometimes in the podcast. She edits a whole bunch of stuff out. What's a better option? Timeout? Just keep watching. You can go check out my free behavior board. It'll teach you how to start with all this, what to do instead of timeout. 3 things I hate: timeout, redirection, and the countdown method. Can't stand them. I just teach what else you do. How do you react to toddlers going through the no phase? I just make it happen anyway. Oh, let's brush your teeth. No, I brush their teeth. Okay, let's get in the car. No, I pick them up and put them in the car. So my granddaughter's going through that. She's almost 2, and she says no to everything right now. I'll say, okay, let's go change your diaper. No. And then she starts walking towards her nursery to get her diaper. She does it anyway because she knows it's going to happen anyway. Right? So I'll say, hold my hand. We're crossing the street. No. And she gives me her hand. She says no, but she does it anyway. And if she didn't, I would just take her hand. So, and if she did have a tantrum, she doesn't tend to, but if she did, I would just let her have a tantrum or, pick her up and cross the road with her if I had to. So just follow it up with action. If it's something that needs to be done, like getting in a car seat and that. I want to be a better leader, but how can I get my 5-year-old to do the consequence if they refuse? If you haven't got the behavior board, there's a backup consequence. There's 2 consequences for the kids. The first one's a positive action. If they won't do that, that's fine. I don't care if they do it or not. Then you go in with the negative deprivation. You're taking something away. That's their choice. They chose not to do the easy first one. Then you do the second hard one. You do have control over that one. Check out the free behavior board. It's at BratBusters.com. That's the training wheels with all this stuff. It teaches you how to do it. It's actually a mini course. It also has a section on toddlers. So it's not just the behavior board. Toddlers are 16 to 35 months. You got a 2-year-old who's starting to hit you, just say no and physically restrain them if they're trying to hit you. Just hold them for a minute or so or 30 seconds, let go. If they go for you again, prevent future hits, like subsequent hits, because they get used to, it's like a muscle memory. They get used to doing it and it gets easier for them to do. So you just hold them again, but you don't look at them. You're just preventing the hits. Everyone wants to look at and talk about all the bad behavior. Absolutely useless. Useless. That's not their language. It's your language. So yeah. And there are 4 things they're born to do or they're never going to do. One is hitting. So aggressive behavior is something there. It's in their DNA. They're either going to do it or they're never going to do it. Another one is tantrums. Same thing. The other one is running. Running away from you in public or wherever. And the other one is climbing. 4 things they're born. It's in their DNA. It's not your fault that they do them. It's your job to get them out of them though. Okay. Well, you asked about what causes aggressive or impulsive behavior. That's in their DNA. Okay. Just something they're born to do. It was funny because I always say there's those 4 things, 4 traits that they're born to do. And then one of my listeners on a live once said, well, my kid has all 7. There's only 4. I love that. How to deal with my 12-year-old constantly asking when the answer is no. Ugh. Oh, so you say no to something, then they keep asking. Well, I mean, I know what I would do, but you're not ready for that maybe. What I mean is you can't, okay. You can put that on a board. You want me to tell you what I would say if a kid kept asking once I say no? So let's say they say, can I have something? And I'd say, no, we're not going to do that. As long as I'm being fair and reasonable and I've said no, and it's a very fair and reasonable no. And then they keep asking. If they kept asking, I would say once, I already answered that. That's all I would say. And then if they kept asking, I would say, I'll tell you what, if you keep bugging me about that, there'll be a consequence. Your choice, or what are you going to do? It's up to them. Okay, that's what I would do. You're probably not there yet. They're probably going to go, well, I'm going to, whatever. So put on the behavior board. Once I say no, I mean no. If you keep bugging me, there'll be a consequence. You can just put it on a board to make it very, very, very clear. So once I've said no, I mean no. By the way, if they're doing that at 12 years old, it means that you've trained them, guaranteed 100%. It means that your no might have been turned into a yes previously, guaranteed. There's no other reason for that. So, and if they're 12 years old, I would even say this. I would say, I really messed up in the past by not following through with what I said, but that's going to change now. Because otherwise they're gonna think, well, yeah, you put that on a board, but you're gonna fall apart anyway. I'm gonna win. Building integrity in an 8-year-old. Monkey see, monkey do. You have integrity. You're calm. You never yell. You're very fair and reasonable, and they will have integrity also. That's the way it works. It's not something you can teach them. It's something they're looking at you for. They'll get it. When they look up to you as a leader, they tend to want to be more like you, and that's where integrity comes from. Oh, Autumn with your 8-year-old, that would be coaching. And even then, I would literally talk to the school, talk to law enforcement. They sometimes have people that will come out and talk to kids. So yeah, I wouldn't take that lightly. And that would be coaching. That's all I'm going to say here. But yeah, seek help. Okay. And I do deal with crisis work. I started my business doing teen crisis work 20 years ago. So you're not the only one who's been through that, and some a lot worse than that. You're not alone. It's not a club you want to be in, but it is a club. Okay, 12 months adjusted triplets. What does adjusted triplets mean? 12-month adjusted triplets. Multiples advice or cool suggestions. I don't really have any because a lot of kids who were really close in age, it's the same kind of dynamic. Yeah, so I don't really have any. Not general advice for triplets. I've worked with triplets. A lot of my clients have twins. And so, yeah, I don't know. It depends on their personalities, too. I don't treat triplets different from any other siblings, is what I'm saying. It's a lot of work. Good for you. Okay. Any tips on how to make my kid not touch the Christmas trees? 22 months old. We just put the tree up today, but the babysitter has had her tree up for weeks and he doesn't touch it there. I don't know what's going on there. But you know what I did with my kids? Like one of my top tips is childproof your home so you never have to say no. I put my Christmas tree behind the couch and angled the couch in a corner and put the tree up on a table so that it wasn't even touchable, and I could hear them climbing if they were going to touch it. So I just made it, and then they got over that and they just stopped touching it. But my granddaughter never touches anything. She went to touch the tree once. She's 23 months old. And they just said no, and she's never tried again. She's not one to touch things. I think it's something they're born to do or they're not. My kids weren't overly precocious either. But yeah, my granddaughter is just next level. You just say no, and she doesn't go near it. Wow. Yeah, they lucked out with this one. They might get a real hellion next time. You never know. But yeah, she's super, they're just born to touch or they're not. I think that. Yeah, I put it out of reach so I didn't have to worry about it. Can you explain the behavior board? It has rules and consequences for every member of the family, 3 and above. And you're on there too. If you're not on there, you're not a leader, you're just a dictator. Your rule, if you yell, your rule has to be no yelling. If you yell, the consequences are underneath the rules. So you yell, your consequence is kid-led play for 10 minutes. It's usually something that they always ask you to do and you never do, like hide and seek or something, or tag or whatever. 10 minutes of that if you yell. The kids are the same thing, but they have 2 consequences. So their rule might be no hitting. If they hit, then they have to do a chore. That's the first consequence. So a chore could just be, don't get caught up in what it is. It could just be pick up 10 toys in 10 minutes, but you usually give them 10 or 15 minutes, like do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. You give them 15 minutes because you want them to yell and scream and procrastinate, right? Or if they don't do it, I don't care. I'm not talking about it. I'm not micromanaging. I'm not nagging. I'm just timekeeping, right? And that 15 minutes. So you're going to empty the dishwasher in 15 minutes or not. It's up to you, right? So I'm just timekeeping. If they yell and scream, I'm not doing it. And I'd say, 5 more minutes. I do not discuss the chore. I do not discuss it. Then the 15 minutes is up and you say, okay, let's go to the board. You always go to the board. You don't just talk about it. You go to the board. It's all written up on a poster. And you go over and then you say, okay, now let me see now. So you broke the rule. The first consequence was you had to empty the dishwasher within 15 minutes. And that wasn't done. Now they run and do it. They empty the dishwasher. You say, well, you don't have to do it now because the 15 minutes is up. Even if they do it, you're still at the board. Say, okay, so now you didn't do that within 15 minutes. So now 24-hour media blackout starts now. So the second consequence is the negative deprivation. The first one is a positive action. If they won't do it, then you resort to the negative deprivation. It can be anything. Anything that they love and play with every single day. It's usually screens, but not all families use screens. So it's something that they love and play with every single day. And you take it away for 24 hours. And that's their choice. No negotiating that. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, but then they ran into the dishwasher anyway. You're not a leader. You're now a dish rag. Like they just manipulated you and you're not following through with it. So yeah, if you don't follow through with it. Parents, the only reason they give in is they don't want the scene. I have no problem with that. Behind every scene, meltdown, there's a tantrum, there's a lesson. That's where the lessons are. It's their scenes, right? Don't be afraid of that. It's like that 8-year-old kid that I was asked to work with. I'd heard about him. I'd never met him. And they said, can you just, spend the class today with him? And I said, sure. So I met him, and he says to me, he's 8 years old, and he says, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I just went, bring it on. And he never did. You could see it in his face. It's like, oh, she knows what she's doing. And he relaxed. He was great with me. Kids all want a leader. They want someone they can trust, right? Leaders make them feel safe. Whenever I was working with kids, the feistier they were, the more challenging they were, the quicker they were for me to turn around. They put up the biggest stink initially, but they were the quickest ones because they're so desperate for a leader that when they come up against one, they go, oh, finally. That's what that kid did. It was like, oh, finally, a leader. Phew, I don't have to act like this anymore. The teacher said to me later, what did you do? And I said, I just asked him to have a fit. Anyway, okay, that's the behavior board. They love a leader. A leader makes them feel safe. A leader makes them feel secure. A leader makes them feel good. When they feel good, they do good. When they feel bad, they do bad. If you yell, you're not a leader. Most parents yell. You got to train yourself out of that. Yelling is a loss of control, and it's very disrespectful. How would you feel if a boss yelled at you? It's a very, I've never been yelled at. I never yelled. It's a very painful thing to be yelled at. They get used to it. They build a shell, but it's still in there. It hurts. Every single kid I've ever asked, I didn't go on about asking a lot of kids this because I didn't like to, but I have asked kids this. I said, would you rather be spanked or yelled at? Every single one said they'd rather be spanked. I don't condone either, but every single kid would rather be spanked that I asked than yelled at. Interesting, eh? Spanking hurts physically. Being yelled at hurts up here and in here. But don't beat yourself up as you yell. You yell because you didn't know what else to do. And you were probably yelled at. So you see it as more acceptable. Whereas I'd never been yelled at. So I didn't see it as something you can do. I wish my mom found you in my childhood. Well, I probably wasn't teaching back then. So yeah, I only started teaching like 18 years ago. I always say 20. I always round everything off. I even round my age off all the time. I always say I'm older than I am, but I'm 65 now, so that's rounded out. But when I was 63 and 64, I'm 65. I round everything up. I never understand why people lie about their age, because I'd rather lie that I'm older and then people think, wow, she looks great for her age. If you lie that you're younger, I've known women who've done that. And when they say they're 10 years younger, people look at them funny, like, well, you don't look very good. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. I'd rather look good for my age than bad and people think I'm younger. I never understood that. Why would you lie about being younger? Because then they're just going to think, wow, you look like crap for your age. Like if I said I was 55, you'd all go, but 65, I look okay, right? See what I mean? Well, I'm assuming. My 24-month-old gets mad at magnetic blocks sticking together. Do I remove? Yeah, if they're getting upset, just say, I'll tell you what, let's just put this away for a while. And they'll eventually learn. It's not a big deal either way. Okay, you can let them get upset or you can take them away. Say, I'll tell you what, let's just play this instead. So replace it with something else. Yeah, you can give that a go. I get mad at it. I love those magnetic blocks. At one of the places that I go with my granddaughter, they have the big ones. They have all the little ones in normal size, but then they also have the big ones. And a couple of those stuck together the other day. I found it really annoying. I didn't have a tantrum, but I was close. We have 4 under 7. Once one starts the bad behavior, they all tack on. How do we combat? Get the behavior board, get organized, get a plan in place. You start with 1 behavior per week. I would deal with everything in day 1. I would never use a behavior board. It's a teaching tool. You get organized. You start 1 step at a time, 1 rule at a time, 1 behavior at a time. It takes 3 to 6 weeks before you start seeing results, and about 3 to 6 months before they're cemented. And it's all you. It's not the kids. You lead, they will follow. Children are instinctively drawn to a leader. It's just an instinct, right? And a leader makes them feel good. It's not about correcting bad behavior. It's about making them feel good. When they feel good, they do good. When they feel bad, they do bad. That's the pool story. If you haven't seen the pool story, I recommend you look at it. A lot of people have hired me for coaching just based on that pool story. It's not, I got a huge wait list. I'm not trying to sell coaching here at all, but it just says it all about how I treat kids. Just Google BratBusters pool story. I can't tell it again. I've told it thousands of times. I just can't. I'd self-destruct. Anyway, yeah, just the pool story says it all. I deal with bad behavior, but then I focus on the good kid. My goal is always that they feel good about themselves when they're around me. Okay. I had I've worked with a lot of troubled teens, and one of them said to me, I didn't like myself until I met you, Lisa. Wow. That's the nicest thing I think anyone's ever said to me. I didn't like myself until I met you. That is my goal, is when they feel good, they do good. How do you think that kid treated me? Right? When you feel that good, when someone makes you feel good about yourself, how do you treat that person? Pretty darn good. Okay, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my courses, my bootcamp courses. You can look into coaching. As I said, I got a big wait list for that, so it could be a few months. But anyway, I'll get to you eventually. And you never know how that goes, because sometimes people get sick of waiting after a few months and they'll hire someone else. So sometimes they'll go through the wait list and they've already moved on to someone else. So it can go quick sometimes too. The longer they've waited, the more likely they are to go on to someone else. So and then the podcast, BratBusters Parenting Podcast, it's on all the platforms. And if you want to watch it on YouTube, that's my thing. I'm a podcast listener. I love videos. But you can see it on there. That we keep all the podcasts and the lives on YouTube. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again the next time I'm here. Okay, thanks so much. Bye now.